Yo, yo, welcome to Culture FC, the weekly soccer show that's not about soccer. We cover fashion, lifestyle, and everything surrounding the beautiful game, just nothing that's really happening on the field. Before we get into it, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. By the time you get this, Thanksgiving will be over, but we hope that you've had a good holiday weekend, enjoyed it with your family. I know we probably will get to eat a lot of food. It'll be good.
Tryptophan, bro.
I'm Louie.
I'm Alan.
Brendan.
And let's get into it. So first topic today, we're going to be talking about Columbus Crew and everything that's going on there. So you want to give them a rundown?
So Columbus Crew is, before I get into this, I'm going to start with the thing that I love the most about the Columbus Crew, which is also the thing that I used to hate the most about the Columbus Crew. They used to have the world's worst soccer crest. It was a little, I'm going to get my shape right this week. It was a pentagon with three dudes in hard hats. And it was the Columbus Crew SC. And it would drive me nuts every time I saw it because it was the epitome of what was wrong with American soccer, was like that. It was this awful crest that had like nothing to do with soccer and it just didn't flow. And they had that for so many years. I think they had that for like 15 years they used that crest because they were one of the original MLS teams. And they then went and redid their logo to, by far, one of the best logos in all of world football. It, to me, is one of the sickest crests that any team in any country has today. I think that it's simple, it has nice symbolism in it, it's just classy.
It's a lot of the like German style.
It's very German. I was about to say it's very
Dortmund.
It's inspired a lot by, I think, from Bayern's crest, which is super classic.
Yeah.
You know, I think that it's something that they did that gave it a nice spin because it's not a straight rip.
Yeah.
But it's like, to me, by far, that crest is the coolest crest that any team in the MLS has today.
Yeah.
I think that it was a huge turnaround. I think it was a good movement. You know, because appearances matter a lot, and so
You look good, you play good, dude.
yeah, exactly. And so
Look. Yesterday they had their first game of
the playoffs.
did they win?
tied.
Oh, okay.
But get into
Sorry,
it.
so now let's get into what actually matters. I just wanted to make that side note. What's happening is the owner of the Columbus Crew wants to relocate the team, which is really messed up in a lot of ways because they are, I think they said that they are the first MLS team. That was like, we were the first team in the MLS. We've been in Columbus for so many years. I mean, since the MLS was started, 94, 93, whatever it was. So they've been around since 93 in Columbus, and the people there love Columbus and all this and that. And the guys, apparently the owner is moving it to Austin, Texas.
That's the plan, yeah.
Which
96.
96? Oh, I'm sorry. Which makes sense because 96 is on their crest. Fair enough.
Yes.
But I think what it was is that, oh, sorry, I take that back. What happened was the MLS used to own all of the teams, and I think they were the first team that like wasn't owned by the MLS.
Oh,
it was like
cool.
something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But so then the owner is now. It's basically what it's looking like is that it's like kind of a done deal, where because the MLS they cater to their owners like we talked about before. They don't cater to the fans. They don't care what the fans care about, which is really messed up and backwards because it's a sport for the fans, and so. It's essentially kind of a done deal that they're moving it to Austin. But what's happened is so much support has come around with people, doing like a Save the Crew and everyone's trying to get these movements to keep the Columbus Crew in Columbus.
So my question to both of you, I guess, in this situation is, they're leaving. Yes, they're leaving kind of abruptly and against fans' will now, but from what I know about the Columbus Crew, they haven't been getting great attendance in their games. They haven't been selling jerseys. They haven't been doing the things that are kind of necessary to keep a club alive. Do we think now that this kind of outcry and this need to save the Crew is just because now it's leaving the Crew? Because if they do have that much support and do have that much fans in their favor, why aren't those fans going to the games and why aren't the fans buying jerseys, doing this and that? You know what I mean? So I think that there's a lot of like just like nostalgic interest behind the club, But what do you think? Like, do you think that that's a fair enough reason? If the guy isn't making the money, fans aren't going to the game, so the fans are showing interest now. But if they're not going to the games, not buying the jerseys, not doing the things that are necessary to keep a club alive, do you think now that they have the right to ask to keep the club safe and keep it in Columbus, or do you think that the owner has a right to be able to say, hey, okay, let's move out?
So I never liked the idea of relocating teams because I think that I just don't like the idea. You're so invested and there's so much history built. You can't just move that history, right? Sure, it's only 20 years of history and that's fine. But it's like the way I see it is my counterpoint to that is what if the owner isn't doing enough? What if the owner isn't doing enough outreach? What if the owner isn't doing savvy deals to bring in enough players to attract people? Like think about it. They're one game away from the MLS Cup final, right? I think it's literally just they if they win next week, they're in the MLS Cup final.
Yeah.
Now, I think that of course is if they win the MLS Cup, that would in theory bring more fans next year if they stayed in Columbus, right?
Yeah.
Because how weird would it be if Columbus Crew wins the MLS Cup and then, we're off to Austin. Like, do you think the Austin people would be, yeah, we won an MLS Cup? No, you didn't. You weren't in Columbus. The Columbus people won the trophy. So my point is, I think that instead of relocating the team and spending all this money on a new stadium in Austin, because I think that one of the other big points is a stadium situation in Columbus.
It's a huge issue.
And so, but since they said that they were going to relocate, there has been, I think the mayor of Columbus said that as long as the MLS commits to Columbus, the city of Columbus will help them find space downtown, which I think will then help them get more attendance.
Right.
So, that being said, I do think that there's an element of what if the owner just wasn't doing the best job that he could to really attract the fans and really get people going to the games. I get it. I understand because, like we always talk about, soccer in the US is a little sporadic. You don't really necessarily know. I mean, you do know where the biggest markets are, but it's not like everywhere has a big market.
Yeah.
So I do get that. But a lot of it comes down to we know how big soccer is on a playing side. What if it's just a matter of the owner being like, you know what? What if we just flip this on its head and, put more outreach programs, try and do more. Let's follow the blueprint of some of the other clubs, Like, why is it that, Seattle and Portland, places that, like, I don't know, I wouldn't expect people to be playing too much soccer there, but they created a culture there. They created the culture. That's what it is. You create a culture, people will come.
So one thing that I found super interesting in one of the articles that I was reading is that because Columbus was so new to the MLS, they were kind of following this blueprint that I think some other teams like, especially when I think of the Revs here, and that they thought that building a stadium near the highway, easily accessible, would be the best plan for getting people to the games. And we've seen that actually isn't the case because a lot of these new teams that have built stadiums near urban areas, in cities where there are bars and things to do around the stadium as well, have proven to be super valuable to the clubs themselves because it actually creates an atmosphere not only in the stadium but for the city as a whole. So I think that's super interesting that the MLS is kind of now swaying from that and seeing, this strategy of having a random soccer stadium in the middle of nowhere, but it's near a highway, is the best deal. They're seeing that there's actual value in creating a culture around the stadium and creating an environment for people that actually may not even necessarily love soccer as a sport or love it, but
like experience.
You go there because it's fun and you have the bars on the street, you have the malls, whatever, that you can walk around.
Well, to that point,
and that's why the Crew now is trying to build the stadium downtown.
Save the Crew.
Well, what's super funny though is when we were down in Orlando earlier this year, the stadium's in a sketchy part. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of sketchy. Like it was in the middle of a pretty
block radius. That's just like
I know the entire that whole area freaked us out. Like driving to the stadium was weird. Like we were like, okay, probably not the safest place. But then you get there and you have all these little bars where it was in Orlando, it was the Orlando Pride game. It was an NWSL game, but you saw they were closing down streets. You had all these bars packed with people who were just drinking, getting ready for the game. And I do think that the downtown stadium thing is definitely going to be a push for all MLS teams because it just makes more sense. Like, you don't want to drive. you know what I mean? It's not the same as football. There's like American football. You're not gonna. It's not like the Pats where you're gonna wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, get there 8 o'clock for a game at 1, and you're gonna tailgate. Like you're gonna rather be at a bar hanging out and then just walk to the stadium or just something like that.
Especially for a sport that's still so new
Right.
to the U.S.
Right.
You need to have other things that attract, because the NFL is gonna get people to fill
Always.
stadiums
Always.
That's not a problem.
How long
But
has
for
this
soccer-
guy owned Columbus City Crew? Since
I don't know.
I'm not sure,
I'd
actually.
Save.
because then that would come into play as
Yeah,
how
like,
much money
is he-
has he
is
already
he-
sunk
is-
into the club?
Yeah, has he been losing? Well, that's what my thing was. Is hey, if he's losing all this money, I understand it's the corporation part of it, which I don't. I'm anti-modern football club, but I think that from his perspective, he's like, okay, everybody loves Columbus Crew, but why is no one coming to this, right?
So he's owned it since 2013.
Okay.
So I think that to that point, there's two things I want to bring up. One thing I read was that I think that people always kind of knew that he wanted to move it to Texas, but when he came out, he actually had to make a statement to the Columbus Crew supporters saying, hey guys, I'm all in for Columbus, we're staying in Columbus. And then you got, 4 years later, the guy's like, oh, just kidding, we're moving the team down to Austin. And now, the funny thing about Austin is, they've had two, like, UPSL or whatever the third division, fourth division teams, and both of them folded for various reasons. One of them is that they actually, one of the teams that were in Austin, they had a downtown stadium, but then they had a flood. I don't know if it wasn't this past year for the hurricane. I think it was another hurricane that hit Texas a few years back. It flooded the stadium, and that got people. They were then not not attending the game. They then had to move the team outside of Austin to a suburb of Austin, which then the attendance was super high when it was downtown Austin. But then they moved it right outside of the city, and it dropped the attendance by I think 60% because people were not willing to make that drive. So.
Was it the Austin Aztecs?
It was the Austin Aztecs, yeah. And so, it's that thing, right? I guess it just, what I think is that there's soccer fans everywhere, right? If Austin is a great place for MLS, maybe MLS should add an expansion team there, right? And it's hard. I think that it's...
So going to that, there's actually, if you go on to the savethecrew.com /letter website, I found this. They have this kind of the letter that they're showing to the MLS. The second point, which I'll read now, I thought was super interesting, and it goes like this. So, second, this move sets a terrible business precedent and threatens the valuation of all other teams. If an investor feels they can purchase a lower-priced team and then relocate them to any place of their choosing, why would anybody ever bother to go through a much higher-priced and less certain process of applying for an expansion team? So this was interesting to me because. You're right. Why not build an expansion team, and why would the MLS not bar someone from doing that if they saw the profitability in an Austin team? And what does stop someone from, say, buying the Rebs and then taking them, to wherever it may be? So I think that's a super interesting point.
So my question is, why, if this guy wants to have a team in Austin so bad,
Start one.
why not sell the Columbus Crew? Because think about how many people want to buy MLS teams. There's so many people trying to get into the
what's
game.
What's the resale value of the Crew now, though? If
they win.
Well, think about it from a perspective of if he's presenting this to an investor and saying, we have this club, a lot of people support it, but we get no ticket sales, we get no sales returns. That's hard from an investor for him to sell, as opposed to him just, hey,
true.
Well, so you can invest money in a stadium and move everybody over there.
I think today he kind of screwed himself because it's about framing, right? Had he thought this through and been instead of me trying to move this team, if he thought about what we just said from the get-go, he could have framed this and been here are the plans for a new stadium, and not talk a single thing about relocation, because by talking about relocation, you're exposing the flaws. If you don't focus on the flaws and say, oh, our team is, let's say they win the cup, right, this year, he could have then sat and gone, oh, guys, we're working on a new downtown stadium, we're doing this, we just won a cup. I want to sell the team. And someone's like, why are you trying to sell the team? It's I want to get a new team in Austin. I don't feel like it's right to move this team, and I'm going to apply to do this X, Y, Z. Sure, I get it. It's not guaranteed because the MLS has so many teams vying for it to be the next couple expansion teams. I get that. But it would be cheaper, right? Especially if he's worked with the MLS, he probably has a leg in with being hey, let me be one of the next investors in Austin, this and that. Because Texas has a lot of soccer players based on the very big Mexican population, or Mexican heritage population. And so, I just think that, I don't know, there's so many things that are wrong and right in the situation. Let's just kind of go through, what do we think is the thing that should be done, finally? Like, what's the overall thing? What should happen with the Columbus Crew?
I'd say stick with the team. He shouldn't have said shit, and then waited to see how well they did in the thing, in the cup, and depending on that, either sell the team, or do the whole build one downtown, put a little bit more money into it. Then their ticket sales and stuff would go up, and then I think he'd be all groovy. But if you really want an Austin team, propose the idea for the stadium, then maybe find a buyer who wants to invest in building that. Like, say they already had the plans and everything, so then they'd be...
Yeah, I think I hate the idea of relocating a team that already exists.
Drives me crazy.
I think that it doesn't make any sense. It's something that particularly happened a lot in the NFL. Super weird. I don't like it. It's hard to build a fan base behind that. It takes a longer time than just building a new team. From the business perspective, I see his point and why he's doing it. He's saving money. These guys are billionaires. They know how to do that. I think that for the sport, it's ugly. For the fans that are there that say that they are fans, it's hurtful because now they have no team. It's kind of hurtful to their community because the Ohio area, everyone is so obsessed with the Buckeyes and everything there. The soccer fans don't really have anything to really root for.
Yeah, they don't have much other sports.
So I think for them, because you don't really, I personally don't know anything about Columbus other than that they have a soccer team there. So I think it puts them on the map in that sense.
That's true, actually.
So
I don't know of anything else in Columbus, Ohio. Like,
I think that for them,
There's
it's
a
hurtful.
sick antique mall. It's huge.
so
in
so there's two things.
In Columbus?
Yeah, well, not in Columbus, but in Ohio.
Well, see, that's
But it's
that's
near. I
help
think it's
them.
near
Columbus enough where it's
Either
like,
way,
yeah,
if you're on 90, it's off of 90 in Columbus or somewhere in Ohio, it's really fun.
so I think that for them it's hurtful. For Austin, I don't know if they want the old Columbus. Like, do they then keep those colors? So there's a lot of things.
So what I
When
saw
was
it.
the logo redesign again?
It
Was
was...
it this past?
No, it was
this
a couple
couple
years
years
ago.
ago?
2 or 3... It was like 3 or 4 years
past?
ago.
That would suck. Imagine the person who drew that.
Dude,
So they moved to
designed
Austin
it.
and then they're
They're
no longer
relocating,
Columbus
and
Crew.
they're not
Are they
the crew.
Austin Crew.
I
or
think what they're saying... No, but that's the thing is that I think they're going to rebrand it as the Austin Aztecs again, as an MLS team.
Aztecs.
So okay, so
So-
I hate the whole idea of the move.
My whole thing about moving teams is I'm going to use an example from the NBA. You had the Seattle Sounders, big fan base, big major city. They move it to Oklahoma City, where I think there's like 12 people living in Oklahoma City. You know what I mean? Not to insult anyone from Oklahoma City.
I went to Oklahoma City last summer during Friday night. I swear, Friday night, in a car driving through downtown, and I saw one person walking down the street.
There you go.
And there were bars everywhere. I was like, "Where? What is happening?"
Well, our friend Bella said that she did when she played for the Breakers. When she played for the Breakers, they went down they played a tournament in Oklahoma City, and she said that it was like the weirdest place she's ever been in, and there was nothing for them to do. They had like one free night for the weekend that they were there, and her whole team they were like, yeah, we did nothing. We stayed in the hotel, and it's like you can't. So really, the point I'm trying to make is. You can't relocate a team and just go, okay, here's a sports team, like it, care for it. Because no, you have to cultivate fans. You have to create culture. You know what I mean? You can't just be like, oh, these were the Sounders. No, they're not. It's a restart. You're not gonna have anyone from Seattle still supporting someone in that. So it's like, you then have to basically reset your whole fandom and be like, start from the get-go and be like, no, we gotta, whatever. I just don't think it's gonna be.
Yeah,
I don't like it. It's a messy process.
We're all against it.
I guess we'll see how it's going to shake out. But one thing that I think will be really, really funny is if the Columbus Crew win the cup and the owner goes up there to try and accept the trophy, and everyone's going to look at him, and I wonder what's going to happen. Are they going to boo him? Are they going to throw stuff at him?
Yeah, he probably won't be received well at all.
Imagine that. I think it would be the craziest thing if the Columbus Crew win the MLS Cup, and then the guy still
It would
goes.
be an amazing story for
It'd
them.
be a great story.
It'd be a great crew story.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it'd be a great crew story only if the crew stay in Columbus. Because then it would just be a footnote in history if they moved to Austin right after. Because then it's like, oh, we won an MLS Cup. Oh, and then we moved to Austin.
Right.
And then Austin's going to go, we won an MLS Cup. Like, no, you fucking didn't.
Yeah.
And the crew wins. The crew wins the cup, and now they're the Austin Aztecs.
All right, so with that, I think let's move on to the next topic. So, World Cup time. This is going to be the third episode in a row that we're talking about World Cup something.
I just
but
think that we
It's a World
have
Cup year, dude. 200. I saw last Saturday. It was 205 days.
Yeah, we're getting
205
close.
days.
Yeah, so it's
Sweet.
probably.
So we're gonna-
sub 200 now.
Yeah, I think the World Cup's going to be a trending topic for a lot of episodes. Which
I'm
is,
just jittery.
I'm not against it.
Oh no, I can't wait for the World Cup to start. I told my girlfriend, so her birthday's July 2nd. I told her, I was like, if Brazil plays on your birthday, we're not doing anything. I'm sorry. Like it's.
Yeah, you
So-
can't guarantee.
She got a little mad, but I told her, I was like, look, if Brazil plays on your birthday, it's the knockout stages.
Plus,
we're
her
gonna-
birthday happens
Every year. World Cup happens every 4 years. It's okay. I'm sure I'll make up for it, I think. We'll be okay.
But okay, so World Cup, USA's out. We all know that. We've been bashing on them for the last couple of weeks.
Literally
but-
3 episodes in a row, I think.
Yeah. There might be a little more bashing coming. So there's a new proposed idea.
204 days.
204
that was
days.
yesterday.
Oh,
I saw
yesterday,
that.
204 days to World Cup. So there's a proposed World Cup reject tournament that is being thought about
By Fox.
by probably some television network behind that, but by the MLS and the board behind the U.S. Soccer Federation. And so this tournament would consist of the big teams that are out.
Italy.
So you have U.S., Italy, Chile, the Netherlands, Ireland. There was a couple more that were being tossed about, but
Yeah.
basically you would take all the biggest names that missed out on the World Cup, bring them to the U.S. for a summer tournament, and play a reject tournament. Which
The idea behind this is people are always talking about bring competition to the U.S. So that we can compare ourselves to higher levels of footballing nations. But I'm not so sure that I'm behind an idea like this.
I am torn for one. So the way I see it is this: the idea of a reject tournament, like no, you guys sucked. You didn't make the big tournament. Don't play in another tournament. If you win this tournament, you get nothing. It's gonna look bad for you if you try to be like, I won this tournament in the summer. Like,
We're
yeah,
the worst of the losers.
we're the best of the losers. This is great. But like, that's just weird to me. That whole concept to me is weird. It's like in college basketball when they have, the actual March Madness, then they have the NIT. You win the NIT, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
who cares if you win that second tournament?
So my thing with this is, I hate it because it's such a loser mentality still. Like, it's still such a loser thing. Like, you're not in the World Cup. Just don't do anything.
Yeah.
Just
Go home and watch.
Sit on the couch and realize how bad you screwed up.
2020.
Another thing that bothers me.
2022. Is it 2022? That's
2022.
2022. Another thing that bothers me slightly about this is we're trying to up the level here in the U.S. playing high level of competition. So then you're creating a tournament that's for a bunch of teams that weren't able to make the level that you were trying to be a part of. Yes, Italy not qualifying, Netherlands not
Which is
qualifying.
banana land.
The competition in Europe, 100 times more
Yeah.
difficult than what it is here for the U.S. to have not progressed. Yes, I get that. But those teams all have key issues that didn't get them into the World Cup. So for me, it's like, you're kind of upgrading and playing some difficult competition, but those guys, in the end of it, are equally as flawed as you because they are still not in that tournament
Right.
that you're trying to get yourself into.
So my question is, if you're a player and you just think, damn, we didn't make the World Cup, this is awful. I then have to go play a full season for my club, like put my body through the ringer. And then your coach goes and your federation goes, no, hey, I know you were going to expect, 2 months off so you could watch the World Cup and be wallowing your sadness, but also, have vacations and stuff. But scratch that, we're going to go to the U.S. and play another tournament. As a player, do you willingly go if
So this is another thing that I had a problem with is if
I feel like they'd send their B squad.
right. So I think that it's a good opportunity. If this is going to happen, I think it's a good opportunity for youth players to come and play at a level.
well, so what
that's
if they
somewhat-
cap? Okay.
I think it's a good level for the guys that we think are going to come up for any nation really. You could put a cap on the age, but my other thing is if I am a proud Italian national team player, a nation that's won the World Cup, I don't want to come to a reject tournament. I can already see like other footballing nations are like, you win that and it's like, Oh,
Good for you.
You won the Reject Cup.
You won the first ever Reject Cup in 2017. Where everybody gets a trophy.
Right. It's probably worse to win that tournament.
Yeah.
Than go there and take it serious and win that tournament versus a bunch of other loser teams than it is to lose to get kicked out of it. So that's my thing.
Well, my whole thing is like if you're 29, right, and you just missed the World Cup, and
fucked.
you're like, well, I'm never gonna play another World Cup, and I'm sure I'm 29 now, I'm still in my prime. Do I really want to go play in this Reject Cup instead of sitting at home and watching the World Cup and going on vacation because my body's getting a little older?
No, I just go play in the Reject MLS and make it loot.
Right.
Still be looked at as a god.
I don't know. I think there are a lot of timing issues with that as well because of when they would host it.
Yep.
I doubt that they would want to overlap with the World Cup.
Definitely not, because then they're going to get zero attendance.
If you're going to have it before, it overlaps with European leagues that kind of aren't done yet. There's a lot of headaches that I think go into it.
So I'm going to flip this on the other side from an American cultural soccer standpoint, because I thought everything that you just said, I agree with, and it was like, I believe that. Now, what happened with the U.S., it was like this. It was, we didn't make the World Cup. We were on this trajectory of rise in culture and people caring about our sport in this country. People were attending our games a little bit more. People were watching a little bit more. Death blow not to make the World Cup. Death blow. Absolute death blow. It was rough. Like, it's going to be rough for them to come back from this. They see this as an opportunity to showcase the U.S. as a soccer nation by hosting this tournament. And the way I see it is, I actually do think a lot of people will attend these games. Because if you think about over the summer when it's just friendlies and people like, Manchester United played Real Madrid in a friendly in Michigan and sold out an 110,000 seat stadium, you know what I mean, for a game that didn't matter, just because we wanted to watch these teams. Now, if you were to bring a tournament to the U.S. where, maybe the results don't matter, but this is MLS and the U.S. Soccer's idea, and I actually kind of think it might work too, so that they don't lose momentum. Where it's like, sure, it is a Reject Cup. If you're Italy, I don't think I'd want to come, but for U.S. soccer, this is actually a great thing as long as they if they do something like an age cap or they only call up young players. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, no, I'd want to see like Robin and stuff.
Sure, for sure. And I would say bring a couple of older players too.
Almost how they do it for the Olympics. Like you're allowed to bring the
U23s, like when they play.
You could bring in some older guys.
In like the Premier, can't you play? Like I see like fucking Danny Ings.
Yeah, you could play for the youth academy. Like you'd have like an injured player. Like Luke Shaw played for United's academy for like 2 months.
I remember when what's his name was playing. What was his name? The Slovakian guy. Either way, bald dude. But he was just like, they're just like so much older than these little kids are playing with. Skirtle. He was playing like the U23s.
Yeah, the U23s.
Well, Jack Wilshere's been playing for the U23s for Arsenal for a majority of the season, I think, to get back in shape.
He got into a scrap in the U23s.
It was great. The kids are like 19 and Jack Wilshere's like 26 and he's just trying to fight dudes. And you're like, dude, this is like a little kid. Like, why are you fighting him?
Oh. Well, what do you think they would call this tournament though? Like the international friendly of
losers? So here's my thing. Wait, what did you just say?
It's the international friendly of losers.
Yeah, well that's the thing. Well, yeah, what do you call
the Losers Cup? Or like we almost made it.
So
the feet fucked up.
Here's my thing. Do you think so? We cap the tournament. Say we cap the tournament at an age group. We have some bigger name players that come. Do you think that is enough to attract the American population?
See, that's what I don't think so. So I guess I don't think having a hard cap on age would help. I think that just it would come down to each national team coach being like, what do we want to do? Do we want to bring up our youth? Do we want to keep our guys engaged? Do we want to really do this or that? I don't know, because I do think that if it's just one guy on each team that everyone recognizes, you're not going to get people coming, especially if the World Cup's on. Sure, the games are going to be early, so if it's an afternoon game, you might make it out to the game. I do think it has to be, at the end of the day, if this tournament's to be pulled off and be successful and actually continue the momentum of U.S. soccer, which I actually do think there's a big chance that it could be. I know it's not something that people have been thinking about a lot. I think that everyone's making fun of it as a Reject Cup, which it is. I'm totally down to make fun of it. I do think, though, that there is a lot of value to MLS and U.S. soccer in a reverse way where you're not really thinking about it. I think that it would be enough to carry some momentum. Sure, they already lost a lot of momentum for U.S. soccer and U.S. soccer growth, but this could actually help them maintain it a little bit. But that being said, the details would have to be so worked out and very detailed so that it meshes well with all the different schedules, meshes well with the World Cup. You get the right blend of youth and experienced players to get people to come watch the game, but also not make the tournament a waste, because you want the tournament to showcase young talent. You want the tournament to...
When I think of the U.S. in almost anything that they do, I think of a nation that is built on winners, right? Built on success. Do you think that American people as a whole, as a culture, will back a tournament that is completely the opposite of what they built their nation on?
I think that comes down to branding.
If they advertise enough.
If they advertise it in a good way, and
do you think you can reverse that though?
People go to NIT games and they cheer for their things, and they, you know.
I think it's hard. That's like your college alum. You're something.
Well, but you have so many different cultures that have heritage in the U.S. Italian, Italy comes to play.
This is like your nation.
Yeah.
Like, this is like your. I don't know if I don't.
So
I
my
find
question
it so
is,
hard
my
to
question
back
is,
a team in a loser tournament.
if Brazil didn't qualify for the World Cup,
I would not.
You wouldn't go to the game because you. But think about it like this: not from the idea of that you're supporting a losing team, but think of it because you don't really get to see Brazil play all that often.
I'll tell you why I wouldn't, because I was mad at Brazil for losing 7-1 until literally like 2 months ago.
Still mad. You know what? Actually,
I was rashing every single player on that team until they proved that they were decent again. So I personally, because I think that I do have this mentality of like, I hate losers in every sense, which I think that it comes a lot from just being in the U.S. and seeing. I think that I find it very hard to promote this. It was such a big thing for the U.S. to have not made it.
Yeah.
For them to now try to flip that,
like,
something
no,
that's so recent too. I think within 12 months to be like, hey, we're now playing this tournament.
Please come watch us here.
That is going to be either before or after the World Cup. Please come support us. I find it so hard. I think that, I don't know if there are other people like that out there that think like me, but I think that it's so hard to try to resell that as something that is not a loser.
Especially in such a short amount of time.
All right, guys. Yay or nay? World Cup reject tournament. B.
Fat nay.
Fat nay.
I see the value of it, of the U.S. Soccer and MLS doing it. I think that it's the only play they had. They had two options. Either they, let the momentum die and don't get people interested in soccer anymore in the U.S., or they try this tournament out. But at the same time, all the points you made are super important. Like, it's a reject tournament. No one wants to win a reject tournament. No one really wants to go watch a reject tournament. So I'm like kind of on the fence. I don't really want to choose which side.
Yeah, you gotta choose.
I love the idea of soccer culture in the U.S., so I'm going to go with yay on it because I think it provides value, despite the fact that I think it's a weird, roundabout idea. I think it'll come down to the branding. I think that if they...
Yay or nay?
Yay!
All right, you're done. I like that you created a little split between us, but I'm going hard nay.
Hard nay.
Screw that.
Yeah, so with that, let's move on.
To a U.S. team that's actually won a World Cup. Oh, just kidding. No, I'm sorry. I'm skipping way ahead. I forgot.
Louise, not reading the program.
Not reading the program. Sorry. Just kidding.
A U.S. team. That was right.
It is a U.S. team. Yay! They've never won a World Cup because they're
a club.
Well,
finish the coffee. Minneapolis City Soccer Club. A team that's been making a lot of noise recently with their kind of club culture, a lot of their jerseys coming out, super fashionable, been highlighted on a bunch of kind of cool soccer websites like Soccer Bible, etc. Coming out with a couple prototype jerseys that they're allowing their fans to pick and choose from for their next, is it home and away jersey or just home?
I'm pretty sure they're picking they're kitting out the whole team. They're allowing the fans to choose from from a few different options. It's really cool though because this team has been. It's one of those, again. It's a nice topic that we always like to talk about. Is it's a smaller team.
People's Club.
They call themselves the People's Club.
Yes.
And it's another team that is really making strides in the lower divisions of U.S. soccer by creating soccer culture, which, like we've said earlier in this episode, very important to getting fans to games and making sure that your club is growing and doing all of that. I think that, so check out what the jerseys look like. They are very, very sick. I think they're really, really good looking jerseys, and they're allowing their fans to pick it. And that's important, right? Getting your fans involved with the club. On their website, they even talk about how like they're a member, it's a non-profit member-supported soccer club, right? And so it's they put the focus being on the supporters, and that's kind of what it's supposed to be about, you know?
Yeah, I like that. I like that they're SC, MLS City SC.
Yeah.
It's an American twist to the classic FC that everyone has, but still kind of. I've kind of started changing my tune on the thought of why Americans call it soccer. I think that it happened for some reason. I actually watched, what changed my mind really was I watched the video of Matt Busby talking about it, and he actually called the sport soccer. And I was like, So then I started looking into it more, and it's actually something that originated in England.
Really?
For calling it football.
Oh.
So that after I've kind of done some research on it, I'll try to find the video and link that in the description of this. After I started kind of learning a little bit more than just the blatant stuff that we think that the Americans started this, I've kind of come to accept it and kind of been changing my perspective on it. I think that if I don't really care what we call it here in the country, as long as there's some support
Soccer club or football club?
I still think football club looks nice.
Always think football club, but I think that SC is still fine with me.
Yeah.
I think that it matches.
FC,
well.
SC.
Plus, it makes it a little bit more of just U.S., right? If let's put
Sure.
some culture.
It adds a little
behind
bit of spin, which makes the so American soccer fans have more ownership of it. You know what I mean?
Right. So back to the jerseys, I think that the designs for them are pretty cool.
I like their colors, black and white.
Yeah.
Classic colors. Black and white to me is
Super
just
classy.
Super classy.
But the jerseys have such a modern spin to them,
right.
which I really like. 'Cause
Right.
they're not just like a black and white stripe.
Yep.
They've kind of got a more modern.
Oh,
feel.
and they went very innovative with some of these designs.
Which one do you like the most here?
Out of the white one, out of the three home options, I think I actually like the first one, number one.
Number one.
I think it's classy as hell. I think that I love the shoulder. I love the shoulder situation. I think that the big white block in between that and the shorts I think it looks very classy overall. I love the socks. I think they look very, very classy.
I think my favorite out of the three for the home is number 3. I like the crest. Not the crest. I like the sponsorship, the way it's kind of placed in there.
Oh, okay.
And then I like the sleeves. I like that
Yep.
the sleeves is actually it's a pattern.
Yep.
That's different from the solid of the chest.
Right.
I think that's pretty cool. It's different. I'm a strong believer that club sponsors should kind of cater their logos to look
Definitely.
more appealing to
Sure. You should be able to change the colors of the logo
Yeah.
to match what the club's going for.
the Manchester United jerseys.
Drives me nuts that the Chevy
Just
logo
make
is
it
so
white.
big and
Yeah,
it doesn't
make it
work.
white.
The
It's so
Chevy logo is
ugly.
fucking
It's so ugly. But like, there's so many like mock jerseys out there with like the
Well,
white.
to give you an idea, I'm wearing one, right? So, oh wait, this is also a podcast, so I have to describe it to you. It's a blue jersey with big orange lettering. There's no orange on this jersey other than the sponsor. Which, sure, it's your logo, but what's the big deal? Why couldn't you make this white?
Right. Well, what I don't get is if you make it more like appealing to the colors of that are on the jersey, you're more likely to have that jersey sold, and thus your brand get more exposure.
Right, and so it's just it's such a reverse thing. Like the branding will
Drives me crazy.
look better that way.
Drives
But
me
anyway,
crazy.
moving along, the away jersey is pretty cool too. It's pink and black, which I think
Yeah.
is super cool. I actually like option 2 for this because I like the pinstripe, the sideways hoop stripes, I guess whatever they're
Yeah.
called, they're sideways stripes.
I hate number 3.
Number 3 just kind of bothers me. I don't like it at all either.
I can't stand the pink at all.
You don't
Really?
like the pink?
Nah, I think it's too loud. I think it's...
Are you not a fan of pink in general?
No, I just think that with all these people... I mean, I hate the neon craze that's going on with all these jerseys and the third kits that are neon lightning yellow. And
Yeah.
I know it's eye-popping and stuff, and I'm sure it gets the younger fans going, but like... classic soccer, I don't think of like pink neon
neon.
jerseys.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely interesting in terms of what they're gonna do with it.
Right.
I think of all of them, number 2 is the coolest, but pink overall, I think, I don't know.
Not a fan.
It's not my, like, I love the black and white. The black and white's classic. But
Yeah.
then if you pair the black and white with the pink and black, it's just like, you have
Seems
the
weird.
classic and then you have the 2018 we play soccer.
Yeah,
But-
well, the way I see it is, I think that home, in a way, should kind of be your 2 colors that you always kind of use.
Yeah, you're
Right,
gonna associate yourself with pink forever.
Right. I think the alternate kit is where you can kind of do whatever,
Yeah.
be crazy, do what you want. I do think that if they're not going to be going with pink forever,
Maybe you don't make it your away colors.
don't make it.
Yeah. I can see it as a third kit for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
the third
definitely.
kit is
Third
cool
kits are
because-
fine. Third kits are not.
Third kits are
normally-
meant to be hated on.
Right.
Right,
Or you
yeah.
know, be experimented on.
Yeah,
You know.
right.
So.
I think that I like this pink, but maybe I agree with you in the sense that I maybe I like the 2 the most because it's not as loud. It's more neutralized in this jersey, where the other 2 are kind of a little more exuberant and out there.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Guess we'll see what gets picked. But one thing that's really cool about their club is that they actually have their own podcast too, which I
Yes.
haven't seen another club take it to that level. Like everyone is, audio is becoming a big craze, and so I think that they're on the forefront of trying to get people involved with their club through this podcast. I think that's super, super cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've heard a couple of their podcasts. They have a lot of episodes, 64 episodes as of the 22nd. But I haven't heard a lot of them, but I wonder if they get a lot of fans on. And,
I would love to know, yeah. I would
Yeah.
love to sit down. I need to do a little bit more research into it, but I think it's cool. I think just the general idea of creating a podcast for your fans or for people who like your club and stuff like that is a great way to promote your brand and get people interested in your soccer
For
club.
sure.
I also have just a side note question, looking back at the jerseys. Shouldn't the shorts be different colors? If you're doing 2 different, because both the shorts on both of these are black.
Oh.
If you're doing
Yeah,
I guess it just doesn't matter for like the
Yeah,
league.
I guess for lower league teams it wouldn't matter.
I'm thinking
Yeah,
like Premier League level,
that's true.
but yeah, that seemed a little weird to me.
Alright,
Yeah,
well,
moving on.
Moving on.
alright, now I get to this part. To the World Cup, the US World Cup team that's actually won something is my segue that doesn't work anymore. So, this is going to be funny because this happened over a month ago, but we didn't have a podcast then, so we're going to talk about it now. Alex Morgan and some other people she was with,
Disturbing the peace.
they were at Disneyland
Being
and they
privileged.
get kicked out of Epcot. So essentially what it was is they got this big, I guess they do this every year, they get a big group together, they go to Epcot and they, just enjoy it or whatever. And what happened was, this player who actually plays for Orlando City, Giles Barnes, I guess he cut in front of somebody at the bar and someone got mad at him and started yelling. And so he started yelling back, and then Alex Morgan got involved and started taking pictures and videos and yelling back. And then they were all a little drunk, and then Orlando police came in, kicked out. They were a group of 20 people, but they only kicked out 4 of those people. Which is funny because when this was first being reported, it seemed like it was Alex Morgan and 3 people by themselves at a bar just causing issues.
Yeah.
It was just her and another dude who wasn't her husband, which is strange. Turns out her husband was there too. So at first I heard this and I was like, wait a second, so why was Alex Morgan by herself with Giles Barnes at an Epcot? Whatever, it doesn't really matter. I'm not involved in their life. Doesn't
I'm
matter.
not TMZ.
Yeah. But then I read more into it. It's it was a big group. There was I'm assuming there was some kind of misunderstanding, and they were drunk, and they all started yelling and being angry and stuff. And then they got kicked out of Epcot. It became kind of national news. I mean, everybody covered it. Barstool covered it. Barstool never covered anything to do with soccer ever, and Barstool was covering what happened with Alex Morgan getting kicked out of Epcot.
Well, so I actually saw a funny thing on Barstool that it was one of their writers was talking about how the U.S. women's national team is like the most wild team the U.S. has because like so many of them get in trouble.
Oh, all the time. Hope Solo had all those issues with the domestic violence, and now she's accusing the president of FIFA for sexual assault or whatever. But then you have all these other. What are the other players that had gotten in?
There's like a list. I don't remember, but
They're all drunk.
The striker Abby Wambach,
Yeah.
she got a DUI.
That's what it was.
They were just talking about how wild this
They're just and he was, and one thing that he said was, I thought I agree with 100%. He's like, this is probably the one professional sports team that I'd like to party with.
Yeah.
And it's just because they seem like wild fun.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's probably true.
And even so, they get a decent amount of publicity, but I feel like because women's sports isn't covered so much, they kind of still fly under the radar in a lot.
Which is
like,
interesting.
They get covered in the soccer world, and sometimes like ESPN.
Well, the only two players that break that mold is Alex Morgan, because she became a superstar, and Hope Solo because it was a little absurd.
Yeah, her story is
Her story is absurd. So, but other than that, and like until you said right now that Abby Wambach got a DUI when I saw it, you don't see this stuff. No one cares. It's not that big of a deal. And the only reason I think the story was big was because it was Epcot.
Yeah, it was at Disney. If she just got kicked out of a bar, I don't think that it would have been.
No one would have cared.
Yeah.
No one would have cared.
The happiest place on earth.
Yeah, because that's the thing, right? You do you like drink at every bar.
Yeah, it was like that's what they do. So what they do is every year they get a big group of people. Apparently, they post on Instagram. They get a big group of people, and they then go and do that whole drinking thing. The bar hop at Epcot. And then weirdest part, they charge them with trespassing, but Disney was open, and they were drinking. They were allowed to be there.
I'm
How
sure
was
they
it
paid their ticket to get in.
Yeah. So how are you charging them with trespassing?
Well, that's that like.
That's where
That's
it gets
like that
fishy.
Alex Morgan fame money comes in like, hey,
No, I guess so.
Let's tone this down a little bit. Probably has a good lawyer. Probably one of the better lawyers in Orlando, and then they figure that out.
Yeah. So that's great. I wish them well. I think that everyone gets a little drunk sometimes.
Yeah, I think
I
that
think it's okay. They didn't kill anyone. They didn't fight anyone.
season.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe Epcot wasn't.
Maybe Epcot wasn't the best location for you to get drunk and
somewhere
rowdy.
else.
But it's like, they didn't hurt anybody. They didn't, no one got hit.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the stuff I read was still murky on like no one really knows.
No one knows exactly what happened, and it just seemed like Epcot was trying to make an example out of them because they were famous or some shit.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know. They didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
They were just being loud and drunk. And if you have a bar and you're mad at people for being loud and drunk, I don't know what's wrong with you.
It's a little tough to.
You can't. The line is murky there. So.
Plus, I see Epcot as a little more grown up.
Yeah, no kid is going to Epcot drinking. If there is, then it kind of fits into what Orlando is, so it doesn't baffle me that much. But, I don't know. It just seems like everyone was making such a big deal about it. And the funny thing is, I think it's water under the bridge. I don't think anyone actually cares anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, she apologized on Twitter, people apologize, they're fine, she's great, she's still going to make bajillion dollars doing what she does, and no one's going to care, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Another guy who was in the spotlight for...
Speaking of loud.
Speaking of loud and disorderly conduct and crime, not crime, I don't want to call it crime. Is it crime?
That's more disturbing the piece.
This makes a little bit more sense, I guess.
Yeah, Romelu Lukaku, Big Rom, was charged with a $350 fine.
But the fine is
$450 fine.
$450 fine for disturbing the peace.
So what happened was, over the summer, Paul Pogba was trying to recruit Romelu Lukaku to Manchester United. How he did this was, they were all in LA together, and they rented a house in Beverly Hills. And they were just throwing wild ragers. You know what I mean? These are two 24-year-old multi-millionaires, soccer super famous people, just throwing wild rippers in Beverly Hills. And I guess the cops came, they were asking them to tone it down, and they just wouldn't. They're having a good time, you know what I mean? And then he gets like a bunch of citations, and then it comes out like 6 months later, like, oh hey, you gotta pay your citation or we're gonna go to court.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna go to jail. And it's like,
pay us $450.
What I find is so ridiculous is they definitely don't know who he is because
sure,
a $450 fine for a guy who makes that much per second. I feel
he
like
probably like 1 minute on the field. Yep, he made $450.
He must have been smiling so much when he got the email saying,
"Oh my God!" Imagine the letter saying, "Pay us $450 or you're going to jail," and he's like, "Oh yeah, like this man's not gonna have the money." Like, oh okay, cool.
Oh my God.
My whole thing is like, where did they get a house in Beverly Hills that they weren't allowed to be that rowdy? Like, I'm pretty sure in LA, there must be some neighborhoods that people just know, like, you know what?
You're not going to do anything.
You're not going to do anything. People are going to be loud and partying here.
Yeah.
Did they just rent a house in the wrong neighborhood of LA?
Yeah,
Like, couldn't they have...
They got the wrong Airbnb or
Did they just
something.
get the wrong realtor
Like,
to get them...
Jeez.
Because why, like...
Yeah, I feel like LA is the one place where, like, you get away with that.
You're a celebrity, you want to throw a party?
Yeah.
That's fine, do it. You know what I mean?
That's a little bit astonishing. Or their party was just so loud that, like, no matter where you were up
It wouldn't matter.
in the hills, that thing's echoing.
That would be crazy to think, like, mad desolate, like there's no one around their house, and it's just such it's the most wild party that it literally just, like, brings the police anyway.
Yeah, that's
the
funny,
police, though.
The report was saying that they were, like, wasting resources, like, going to these parties. Like,
Oh, okay, yeah. Do they really need the $450 that much? Like, really?
I don't know. It seems a little ridiculous.
It
But
seems a little
honestly, I really think that they don't know how much he makes or something, because I feel like they would have bumped it up a little bit more.
Hey, you owe us $4,000. Oh, you need to get a new car. Yeah, no, there you
for
go.
a waste of resources, and then you're going to charge a guy $450. That's really
ridiculous.
some,
Oh, you mean the resources like the gas that one dude has to take from the station to the house? Oh, great.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, moving on to this week's weekly famous soccer. Oh, I messed up. Famous celebrity who likes soccer. This week is Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell is a Chelsea Blues fan.
Fan
I
of
think
Chelsea.
this is somewhat known.
Yeah, he's posted pictures on social media with there's one that we did with what? Drogba?
Drogba, there's pictures of him and who's the guy he does Step Brothers with?
Oh, John C. Reilly.
John C. Reilly at a Chelsea game, both
nice.
rocking the stuff. I don't know if John C. Reilly is a Chelsea fan.
Probably not. He's probably just a Will Ferrell fan.
Yeah, he is a big Chelsea fan. He actually he attends a lot of their games when they come here to the U.S. He's seen at bigger Chelsea games in England. I saw this tweet that he made a joke about how when Jose was back at Chelsea, he made a joke about how Jose plays super defensive and it wasn't working. And then Jose got fired like the next couple days, and he was like, "Oh, I feel kind of bad because I feel like I kind of had some role in his getting fired."
So what you're saying is Will Ferrell made Jose Mourinho get fired.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's a great story.
Yeah. So he was making jokes about that, but he's actually a big fan of U.S. soccer.
Right, because it's not just a one-off where he's an EPL fan. He's actually an investor bringing LAFC, which is the team that replaced Chivas USA, to MLS. They're starting to play next year, and he's actually on the... there's a lot of investors in this team. It's not just him, but he's one of the big-time investors for LAFC.
Yeah.
And he's one of the ones really pushing for this team to be big in LA. Because I don't know how much we know about, like you guys know about MLS like history, but Chivas USA was like the second LA team that never won anything.
Yeah.
And it was just like the kid brother that no one really attended the games. With that, like, because the LA Galaxy has won, so many MLS Cups and things like that. So what they did is they stopped operations for Chivas and they rebranded, and now they're doing it as a second LA team called LAFC, which I'm sure we could do an entire episode on because I actually think their logo's sick. I think that
they have already a pretty big fan group.
Oh yeah, and this is before the team's even started playing, and I think
Yeah,
they're
they've
doing
had
a
some
great job.
I don't want to say rallies, but they've had some like
Gatherings.
gatherings for fans, and it looks crazy.
Yeah.
Like, they come in. They have fans with like flares
Yep.
and
Well,
smoke.
I think that if they do a good job there, they're going to be able to overpower LA Galaxy as like a cultured fan base. Because LA Galaxy, they're still that old-timey MLS club that just happen to have won so many trophies. I don't know what the culture is behind LA Galaxy. I think it's fine.
Plus,
Beck's played there, so you had a lot of people liking him and stuff like that.
DVG played there.
But the problem is that they cared more about the players than they cared about the club. And so I think it's cool that LAFC, despite the fact they haven't played yet, seems to have people who care about the club.
LAFC's like color combo and style looks way
Unique.
more LA than LA Galaxy does.
LA Galaxy is just not. I don't like them.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of them either. I think I have this like weird thing. I don't know. I feel like they're privileged and they keep getting all these like big name players.
Think about it. They've had Beck, Stevie G, like
Kyoto Santos.
some of the best players that ever come to MLS are always like shuffled into LA,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, you want to talk about growth and you don't want to help other teams, but you're giving LA all the best players.
Yeah.
They already won 5 championships.
Yeah, LA gets all these benefits.
And we say that because MLS used to allocate the designated players, which I think is was ridiculous.
Right. Well, they want the big name guys in the big name city, so maybe now it's nice that there's two teams there to compete for that.
Yeah.
Maybe soon we'll be hating them as well.
Probably. That'll be fine. Okay with that.
If the MLS is going to be dishing out players to them, then
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's pretty cool that Will's he's really active in the soccer world. He's kind of, when I first found out he was a soccer fan, I was like, oh, that's so funny. He doesn't take me as like a sports fan.
No, you look at him and you're like, this guy doesn't play sports or care about sports.
But he
does.
Yeah.
He must have loved doing kicking, screaming then.
Oh yeah,
he
that's
must
true.
actually like
a fan
straight up like. Just
I completely forgot. You know what's
love
funny?
that.
I completely forgot he did that. Despite the fact that I love that movie.
That movie was great.
I just forgot that he
As a
did
kid,
that.
I loved watching that.
Oh yeah, it was funny.
Thanks, Will.
If you're watching it, thanks, Will.
But yeah, I think that's it.
That covers
For this
episode 3, I
week.
think.
Yeah.
Our 3rd episode, friends. Make sure you're subscribing to us on iTunes, Google Play. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube if you like watching the videos. Like, comment. Let us know what you like, you dislike, you think we're ugly.
If you have any questions, concerns, anything, email us at contact@trebleware.com. TREBLWEAR.com. And yeah, we're the ones reading the emails, doing everything, so you'll be reaching us directly. I'm out of words to
Have
say.
a happy Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Enjoy
Gobble,
your
gobble.
cranberry sauce.
Gobble gobble.